It's 5:30. We're going to call to order the Monday, April 16th meeting of the Anderson Township Zoning Commission. Need the approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I will second.
Roll call.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Goddard?
Yes.
Mr. Elliff?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes. All right, we have approval of the minutes. We have two that are on the docket from February 26. Looks like we have the right people here to review the meetings minutes. Any questions or comments about the minutes?
I have one on the March 26th, if you want
Let's
to
do February 1st.
Yeah, when you get to March, I have a...
February 26. Any questions, concerns, comments?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the February 26, 2018 Zoning Commission meeting.
I'll second. Second? Okay, second from Scott, or Commissioner Boone.
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Goddard?
Abstain.
Mr. Elliff?
Abstain.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes. And the second set is from March 26, 2018.
On page 10, at the top, there's the first line that says off should be of, and then I think Mr. Flume spells his name P-F-L-U-M. It's a little bit different spelling.
That's correct. That is how he spells it.
Okay, thank you. And then the other comment I had on it was, I know there was some brief, but I thought important comments from the board about the design of the apartments, and that the developer also stated that he would be amenable to considering redesign of that. I know there's been some discussion of that, but a couple of us were looking for maybe perhaps a little bit more modern, and the whole point of it was that was on the record, and he said he would look at that. But I didn't see that reflected in the minutes. I could have missed it. Did anybody else see that? I thought it would be helpful if there could be a line or two of that picked up in there somewhere.
Was this transcribed from the videotape or from?
It was, and they're just notes. It's not word for word, but you're right, there was some discussion about the design of the buildings. There was a condition specifically about that as well, but we can add additional language.
Yeah, it sounds like a salient point to add to the meeting minutes. Why don't you amend them and then bring them up next month
Okay.
for approval?
Okay, thanks.
We can do that.
Good catch, Brian.
Thank you. All right, this time we'll move on to case 1-2018, the land use plan for the Anderson Trails Network. Go forward with staff report.
Thank you. This is case 1, 2018 LUP land use plan. This is the Anderson Trails 5-year update. The applicant is Anderson Township Board of Township Trustees. And again, the request is to update the existing Anderson Trails plan that was last adopted in 2013. A little bit just about the plan summary. It was originally adopted, the very first plan was adopted in 1999, and this was a culmination of the transportation plan and the 1986 sidewalk plan. Since then, the township staff has been diligent of doing an update at least every 5 years, sometimes even more frequent based on the number of projects that have been constructed or the changes in the plans, the recommendations from that plan. The main goals of the prior plan, which are still consistent with this update, are listed there in your staff report. Integration of walkways into all planning as the township evolves, consistent with the 86 sidewalk plan. This is also incorporated into our comprehensive plan. Development of plan for ongoing funding of this type of infrastructure improvement, and then creation of public recognition of the benefit and support of funding methods which may be developed. A little bit about the planning process. The Transportation Advisory Committee has spearheaded this effort, and within that committee, there was also a subcommittee that was formed to guide the update. There were a series of public input opportunities and advertisements of the plan update. Staff took comments via email, via phone, online. There was also a public open house that was held in February. And then we advertised just the update of the plan on Facebook through the Anderson Insights, the Forest Hills Journal, which is currently Eastside Press, and different media outlets to make sure that the word was out there and that we were taking input for the update of the plan. So with that, a draft plan was prepared by staff in-house. Mr. Caruso, who's in the audience, and Mr. Brad Bowers were the key staff in putting that together, along with our Transportation Advisory Committee. And then a draft was also posted on our website for additional feedback and comment. So with that, I think most of you are aware, because this has been before you before, but the Anderson Trails Plan is a guide for all the township's pedestrian and cycling investments, and there is a ranking to prioritize those based off of a benefit factor, and that is explained in the plan. This year, with this year's update, the top high priority segments are on the table, which are in your staff report. The one that received the most and the highest ranking was a segment on Witt Road, and this is from the Valley View Apartments to Beachmont Avenue to an existing sidewalk where Dewey's Pizza is. And that development was really what instigated this high ranking for this, that they were required to put in sidewalks with that development. And then this actually made this segment stand out with the highest benefit factor this year. The second is Lawyer Road, and this is from Concord Green to Hunley with an asterisk, because if you look at the benefit factor, it actually scores lower than some of the other high priority segments. And the reason for that is the equation actually just didn't work this time. This segment of sidewalk has been in our plan probably since its very beginning. It was recommended to tie into an existing sidewalk on Hunley at the intersection of Wolf Angle and Hunley and Little Dry Run. So adding that segment of sidewalk to the sidewalk on Lawyer actually made the benefit factor go down because of an increase in cost. For some reason, the benefit factor did not, or the equation did not work. But staff, along with Transportation Advisory Committee, felt that Lawyer Road should be second in priority, along with Forest, and third, there are two segments on Forest Road, and then finally on Burney Road. And these are the high priority segments. The sidewalks that are either being engineered currently or have other funding sources were not included in this ranking sheet. So the sidewalk on Markley, which has been in the design phase, and right now we're in right-of-way easement acquisition, and it will be constructed later this year. The second one is on Pattison, which is in the design phases as well. So those two segments were high priority rankings in the previous plan. They are not listed in this table because they are currently underway. There are some other segments as well, and all of that is described in the plan. The plan also includes ranking and priority for shoulders. These are the more difficult segments to build in the township, either because of lack of right-of-way, topography issues, etc. So these are ranked, and you can see the priority of those. And then finally, this was just a map showing the top 4 ranking sidewalk segments in the township, so you can see where they a graphic representation of where they fall in the township. So with that, I know Mr. Caruso is in the audience. If you have further questions, Mr. Bowers also has helped put this plan together, and I believe we have some members of our Transportation Advisory Committee.
Good evening. So I think Mr. Drury has laid out the plan pretty well. I'm not sure I have anything to add except for a couple of things. Number one, the shoulder aspect of the Anderson Trails Plan has been a difficult situation for us because it requires us to cooperate with the Hamilton County Engineer's Office. With the passage of this new plan, I hope to take this plan to the engineer's office and try to get some type of cooperation in terms of when they do work on county right-of-ways that we can build some of these expanded berms along. these particular segments of the township. And again, these are mostly in areas that are more rural or less highly densely populated than where the sidewalks are. Consequently, the sidewalks, in terms of a benefit factor, they just would not show up very well. So we think it's an important aspect of the Anderson Trails Plan. And we want to see if we can get this implemented more efficiently with the Hamilton County engineers. The other thing I want to make sure you understand is the Ohio River Trail are funded differently. The Little Miami Trail obviously was funded differently than this. We have in the plan a 5-mile to the Little Miami Trail identified in the narrative. So those are all funded differently. Beachmont sidewalks are also funded differently than the Anderson Trails Plan. The Anderson Trails Plan is, from the beginning, has always been connecting neighborhoods to destinations. And so we have tried to connect neighborhoods in denser areas. And we have several main corridors, the 5-mile trail, Asbury, 8-mile, now Salem Road, are all considered corridors that are important and spines of the Anderson Trails Plan. So with that, I'll ask for any questions, hopefully be able to answer.
Okay, we'll start down at the far left. Commissioner Boone?
Nope. Well, I just had one quick question. I really enjoyed the plan. On page 46, and as I read through this, very easy to understand. It talks about a berm on Forest, and I completely get that because it kind of ties all these neighborhoods that get to that Asbury Road spine over to Anderson High School. And also, I know Forest Road's a pretty tough road. There's not a lot of room. Did the committee, so if you walk along there to get to Anderson High School today, the easiest or the safest way is just to go up basically not quite to Beachmont and then cut through, and you can get to Anderson pretty easily that way. But and knowing Forest Road is so difficult and not much room, did the committee explore, or are there any options to get from Asbury Road over to the high school, maybe through just a trail system or something that doesn't necessarily follow Forest Road, but you don't have to go all the way up to Beachmont?
Staff has looked at a number of different solutions to that, and we continue to. We actually looked at putting a trail through the Asbury Cemetery, or I guess it's Forest Road Cemetery. Mm-hmm. We had an offer from one of the property owners to allow us to create a trail. That didn't work out. We have been talking to the seniors' apartment. There's a connection that goes from there, and we had some buy-in several years ago before the office building was built for Cincinnati GUI or GI. Mm-hmm. So our staff's plan is to go and touch base with them again and see if we can make that connection from Asbury to the high school through that system, because there is a pedestrian connection from that office.
Right, there is a physical connection now. It's not necessarily advertised and called out in the plan, but you can get from Asbury through the Asbury senior apartments, through the new office building Mr. Crusoe was talking about, the Cincinnati GI, and then there is a sidewalk connection to the school property. So you can
walked that even
yes, you
one
can
time,
do
yes.
that. It's not official on our plan, but it is, the connection is there.
Okay.
So the idea then is to get formal recognition of that. And then, we would go similar to what we did with the lawyer connection to the 5-mile trail, where we help maintain that private drive in order to have the pedestrian connection. And staff has talked in the past about that, and so we're anticipating trying to do that in the future. It's one of the things on my list of things to do that we continue to work on.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Just one of the things that's changed from the 2013 is we actually have created a sidewalk now down to Meadowland Drive that we didn't have before. In the past, that was looked at just as a expanded berm all the way up to Merritt Grove. In looking at this, we had a couple of suggestions to look at this segment and found that it did come up in terms of priority. So we changed that from an expanded berm to the sidewalk segment that goes down to Coldstream Apartments.
Yeah.
Having said that, one of the things I'd like to try to do when we build that sidewalk is to see if we can get a connection between the condominium complex and that apartment complex at an off-road trail, so that those people can at least go east on Forest to connect to the schools
That
and
would be
connect to
nice,
the parks.
yeah. That'd be very
So those are things we try to do consistently in the spirit of the Anderson Trails Plan. They're not really funded, per se. There's not going to be funding for those types of things. Those are kind of easy to put together if we can get the buy-in from the property owners. But those are all part of what we do with the Anderson Trails Plan.
Great, thanks. Anything else, Commissioner?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Boone? Or Gothard?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Ian?
I have no questions other than I think mine is missing the page of extending the sidewalk on Markley down to Foxview.
Well, we looked at,
I didn't get that page?
well, first off, Markley is being built, but we did try to make a connection down to Foxview, and there's a stream at from Woodruff or Woodcroft down to Foxview. We got an engineer's estimate of about 300 feet, would cost over $300,000 to put a box culvert in order to have space to build a sidewalk. And then we looked at possibly going as an easement through private property. And we probably will try to pursue that if there's some interest and if we can get some buy-in from property owners that would like to have that. But in terms of, unless, like a lot of streets in Anderson Township, unless Hamilton County decides that they're going to upgrade their infrastructure and, help us with building those things. Some of these projects are exceedingly expensive.
I'm just always amazed at the people that actually do run up and down Markley, even
Oh,
in the dark, or kids riding bikes or whatever. So, no, I totally understand the
Yeah.
cost of benefit ratio.
And we do have the expanded berms on Markley. Again, that's one of, I talked about Hamilton County. Hamilton County did some paving on 5 Mile that we had discussed for years and had thought we had gotten buy-in from the county to do it. And it, for whatever reason, at the end of last year, they decided they were going to repave 5 Mile, and they did, but didn't add any berm. So I think it's something that the township and Hamilton County have to get together on and understand who's going to put money into it, and if Anderson can, and that type of stuff. So I just think we haven't explained it thoroughly enough. So hopefully we can get that going.
That actually was going to be my one question, was because that's a main spoke to connect to the Ohio Trail, High River Trail, and then connect back to Miami Trail down at Lunkin. That would link Anderson Township to that on Old 5 Mile.
Exactly.
When's the next opportunity, if they just paved it and didn't add the berm, what's realistic?
I can't tell you. I honestly don't know. My sense is, as we move forward on the Ohio River Trail, we will come up with some type of an excuse to create that berm. And it may be something that's funded with Anderson Township and do it in coordination with Hamilton County Engineer.
Okay.
But that's one of the things that, we have to work on.
Okay, great. Well, at this time, there's no questions. We didn't have any questions for staff, I take it. I'll entertain a motion.
I just had one real just quick general comment, which was, I really enjoyed reading this plan. I thought, you try and pick out how do we prioritize some things, and I saw there was some real science and thought that went into it. So It made a lot of sense. I really enjoyed these maps. They were really easy to see what was going on and stuff. And I really appreciated that the committee, Mr. Lewis is on that committee, he's on our board, and the staff, and Mr. Crusoe worked so hard, and
a couple of
the
our
other members here.
subcommittee here,
It's
yeah.
really great, and that's what is the nice thing about Anderson Township is we do zoning really well, but we do a lot of really good planning, and I was really excited to see this document.
There's a great picture on page 7
Well, I'm going to,
of the other people that also, I mean, Pinky and John are
Yeah.
great members, but what is there, Tom? 15, 20,
we have 21
21 members?
Yeah.
So,
And Brad Bowers, is now our employee, was a co-op, but Brad has brought a lot of talent in order, the formatting of that project now, he has the skills to create the formatting. We all work together in terms of the mapping, so the CAGIS, or not CAGIS, but GIS that we have in Anderson Township now, helps us create what I think is, every time we do an update, it seems to get better, but I think we've done a good job, and it's,
Good job, Brad.
it's good that our co-ops are coming to work for us, because they're talented young people, so.
great. Pinky or John, would you guys like to add anything? Okay. At this time, we'll close the discussion and entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve the Anderson Township Trails and Walkways 2018 update. I agree with Commissioner Ellis that the plan is really well done from a planner and easy to read, so I make a motion we approve that.
I will second.
Have a roll call, please?
Ms. McBride?
Yes.
Mr. Goddard?
Yes.
Mr. Eliff?
Yes.
Mr. Boone?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, thank you all. We do have a meeting in May. It's a week earlier because of the Memorial Day holiday, so please mark your calendars. And if you're unable to attend, just let me know.
Do you know what we expect for that meeting?
We, a zone change for the Skytop Pavilion Shopping Center, and then possibly a PUD. But the zone change, they have already made application, will be heard at regional planning on May the 4th, I think, is the first Thursday, so we'll be hearing that following their public meeting.
Great. Motion to adjourn?